Welcome to Hello, this is the Doom Show. This is Richard. Well, wait, no, I'm Richard. I'm here once again with my good pal, Jeffrey Canino.
Hi.
He is filling in for Badass Brad, or just Brass Brass Brad?
Brass.
I'll just play a sample of Brass Monkey. Maybe I won't do that.
Okay.
We're here to talk about a very unusual film. This is something special, and I don't know what special means anymore, but here we go.
It's a very perverted form of special. You've perverted the term so that it no longer means what it means.
There you go. I like that. We're thinking inside and outside the box car. This is Amok Train from 1989. I have trouble not laughing when I say the title. Also known as Beyond the Door 3, The Train.
How many times can you go beyond the door, really? I mean, you just walk through the door and then it's done. You know what's beyond the door.
Do you, though? Do you really?
No.
Maybe you need to go beyond it again.
Actually, this was my third time, and I still have no idea what's beyond the door.
Nice. This was my second viewing, and a rather happy viewing. Just so you folks know. I'm not about to shred on this movie too hard, but there's some things we gotta talk about.
A couple.
Go stand in the corner, Amok Train. Your father and I are deciding what your punishment will be. Sorry, Jeffrey and I are not married. But we do have a few children together. Woo! This film, Amok Train, was directed by someone named Jeff Whitney.
That is his name. I want to talk about him a little bit later when we talk about the...
If you can prove that that's a real person, we'll talk about it.
I'm pretty sure he's real. I mean, fake name? Absolutely. But I think he's real.
I think his real name is Italian Man, who wasn't allowed to direct anymore. It just seems fishy, okay? That's all I'm saying. So, we're going to try to talk about the plot. And if I'm feeling generous, we'll talk about the cast, too. Why not, right?
Yes.
Although, if I never talk about them again, it's okay, because none of them ever acted again.
I think it's very telling that on the Wikipedia page, under starring by, it only says Bo Svensson. That's it.
Yep. Bo is the big star, and he, legitimately, he's awesome, but, yeah, everyone else, yeah, okay.
Also, in the opening credits, we get one of the most unlikely credits ever, which is Bo Svensson as, quote, the professor.
Yes, I could not figure out what his name was supposed to be. Professor Andromalik. Andromalik.
Yes.
Like that. Okay, I'm going to try to start talking about this, I swear.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'll help you out, if need be.
The opening of this movie is a little strange, a little off-putting. You got some big, late 80s synthesizers. You see a weird ritual and some strange tarot cards that probably were just made just for this particular ritual. And you have a blind woman, a witch, named Vesna. Played by obscure Serbian woman, number 2. I mean...
Is that how she's actually credited in the... Because I wouldn't be surprised.
Shit, I didn't write it down. This is her main appearance. Perhaps her only appearance. So after this little ritual... we cut to Los Angeles, and we go to a college classroom full of a bunch of idiots
who are currently studying Balkan studies, because that's a major that you can, focus on if you want to.
Man, I only need 3 more credits. Let me take this Balkan Studies course.
My Balkan Studies minor is really going to help me get that job.
Oh, man. I want a PhD in that. We get to meet a very special young lady who we'll be following through this entire adventure. Her name is Beverly.
Oh, Beverly.
Beverly Putnick, played by Mary Conert. And she doesn't really get along with her friends in this class. Because they're all shitheels, so who cares? There's a nice guy, but the most important thing about Beverly is her boobs, which the movie immediately shows us.
Along with her sweet belly tattoo / birthmark. Yeah,
she has a birthmark that looks mysteriously like the USF logo, which is very strange. Okay. But it looks like a pair of horns or a big U or something like that. For some reason, her mom bursts in on her in the shower, and shortly before dying horribly. Her mother is played by Victoria Zinni, and she's just trying to make her daughter like, hey, it's okay. You have a birthmark, whatever. You'll find a husband one day. And that husband will be Satan.
Oh, spoiler.
Oh, whoops, my bad. Oh yes, there's no doubt we're gonna spoil this. So.
Oh, naturally.
All the juicy bits.
We will spoil it, but we won't explain it.
What Jeffrey said. Yes, we will. We'll be baffled along with you. Promise.
So at this point in the film, we learn a lot of interesting things about Eastern Europe. Particularly things like, the Balkan Studies teacher tells us that that they should all make sure to get their plane tickets because it's a long walk to Yugoslavia. We also learn from Beverly's mother, who happens to be Serbian, says that, tells Beverly very helpfully that, Serbians don't have central heating, so you better bring a sweater.
That is racist. That is not true. They are issued that at birth. They all have central heating. They all get ready for their trip. Mom drops Beverly off at the airport, and then, like I said, immediately dies horribly in an accident. It's our first instance of real gore in this movie, of which we'll be seeing quite a bit.
This is a really good one, though. I mean, she's full up skewered by a metal beam in some sort of deliberate accident. I mean, there's another car that pulls in front of the car that she's in and causes the accident. We don't know who does it, but it's, there are nefarious forces at work, clearly.
It was Damien. He finally got his driver's permit. So, Mom gets beheaded. It's beautiful. We meet Professor Andromelech, the one you've been waiting for, everybody, played by Bo Svensson.
Yes,
he meets the class at the airport and takes them to a ferry boat. As they're walking to the ferry boat, this weird messenger guy who just ran very awkwardly out of a nightmare to bring the professor word of Beverly's mother's death. I can't tell if he tells her right away.
No, I mean, she doesn't know at all, as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm actually watching the film on my screen as we're talking, and we're awesome. At this exact moment, and he just crumples up the note and throws it into the water, so it's pretty clear he doesn't tell her.
Boring, right? Don't have time for this shit. So
I also want to take a moment to just describe Dr. Andromelech, because Bo Svensson's really going all out here. He basically looks like the Serbo-Croatian Doctor Who. He has a scarf that's easily, 6 feet long, a beautiful red scarf. He's got a nice little goatee going on, and a wonderful walking cane with a weird sort of a handle that has a a human form on it doing some sort of supplicating. I don't know. But it's obviously very satanic. I mean, he's pretty much screaming out that he's bad news.
Yeah. He's getting ready for his Dark Shadows audition or something.
He is. He's a little bit like Jonathan Frid. Yeah.
But cheesier. Much cheesier.
Yes.
If that's possible.
Yes.
They're riding on this ferry boat. He gives them a symbol to wear. And what do you know? This little necklace happens to be the same symbol that is emblazoned on frickin' Beverly's torso.
It also sort of kind of looks like a red vagina pin. and it's really funny when the one female character who is not Beverly, the brunette, says this pin just looks just like Beverly's ... and you can fill it in. You can fill in that blank and say it looks just like her vagina.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, it's also worth bringing up at this point what they're actually going to Yugoslavia for.
Oh, yes.
They are going there to observe firsthand some sort of ancient rite or custom that the backward central heat-lacking villagers partake in. A stone-clacking central heat-lacking villagers.
They called it something. What was it they called it?
Passion play, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Which is in essence, a recreation of the death of Christ. So one character points out a pretty obvious plot hole, which is that this 2,000-year-old passion play predates Christianity. So how does that exactly work? How can you then make a passion play about the death of Christ before Christ? And Professor Adromalik basically just says, well, 2,000 years are but a sneeze in the grand scope of time.
Like, thank you for mentioning that. That's great.
Some real clarification, yeah.
Perfect. I totally get it now. I think you just figured it out, too.
Also, there's one other thing I want to mention. I'm sorry.
No, please. What do you got? I could do this all night.
It's another thing regarding Bo Svensson's award-winning performance as Dr. Adromalik. He at the end of the scene, right after the brunette says that the pin looks like Beverly's vagina, and Beverly just runs off. Bo just looks at all of the assorted students and says, "You are rude." And then the scene just hard cuts to the next one. He really rolls that R. It's beautiful.
Oh, man. Bo. What are you going to do with that guy? Apparently dress him up like a Croatian Doctor Who. They take the ferry boat to this village for the night, and we meet the townspeople, which are made up of one midget and a whole bunch of weirdos who look like they're vitamin D deficient or have scurvy or something. It's very ghostly faces and lots of rock clacking together.
Yes. They're also very good at standing still. That's, in fact, their major attribute. They just stand still and gawk. Interestingly enough, a connection to the last film we talked about, The House with the Laughing Windows, we have our main characters arriving by boat and being greeted by a dwarf.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the same, exactly.
Does that happen in Nightmare City too?
It does not.
Oh! Spoiler alert, that's what we're talking about next. If you're still listening to this amazing... us getting through the first 8 minutes of the movie.
No, we're 14 minutes in. I've got it running on my screen.
Oh, that's right. You're watching it.
We're doing fine.
That's awesome. I love it. Beverly and Vesna, the witch, are finally introduced by the professor, and she immediately tries to give her some soup. And this soup will give you energy, and this witch lady she's quite appealing.
She looks like she's stuffed. She looks like she's a taxidermied witch.
Man, the makeup and the day she went without her dentures. It's creepy. It's or disturbing. Maybe more disturbing than creepy.
It's also worth noting in this scene that Dr. Adromelik says the words, hot soup about 30 times. He really wants Beverly to eat this hot soup.
So, of course, we know that they're slipping her a Mickey, and she passes out for the night. And while she's unconscious, Vesna feels her up to confirm her virgin status.
Yep.
Ooh.
Not exactly sure how she does that.
Yeah.
I guess she can detect the hymen just with her hand. It's quite the skill. They only know it in their most remote parts of Serbo-Croatia.
Let's see. And all of her classmates are in their own little huts, and they're boarded up because they have to set them all on fire. Apparently,
yeah, the villagers are way into fire, and chicken corpse slop buckets, so they can draw blood symbols on the walls with. Yeah,
it's all part of the welcoming committee. They didn't really board them up well enough, so it's kind of like a local joke to see if you can get out of the burning
It's
hut.
a hazing ritual, yeah.
Welcome to your shanty. So yeah, they have another little ritual, and the beds that everyone's sleeping in are catching on fire, and everyone wakes up except for Richard.
I have a question. This is a really important question.
I gotta hear it.
Because something very confusing to me happens at this moment. Okay, so in your understanding of what happened, did the villagers light the cabins that the students are staying in on fire, or did a smoking black monolith shoot lightning bolts onto the cabins and set them on fire? Because I'm actually not very clear on that.
I think most of the fire just happened spontaneously, I thought, from the ritual.
Right, that's what I think. There's Professor Andromelik goes to this monolith that just sort of, like a 2001 type black monolith.
Oh, Doctor.
And is just like looking at it, and then it just shoots off. You hear like lightning bolt sounds over the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And then all the huts are magically on fire. So I guess they worship a monolith too, in addition to Satan. Whatever.
It's all good when you're making random and unfounded Kubrick references. Like, we'll just do it just to do it.
So anyway, this dope named Richard, what does he do?
He just sits up in bed, staring like he's got the PTSD or something. He's just totally in a trance, and he burns to death.
Well, you know what I think the problem is? I think that the problem is that he's actually a wax dummy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he actually transforms into a wax dummy. You can see.
He shouldn't be near fire.
Well, it was really bad placement. I don't think he expected it. It just sort of happened.
I love in horror movies when there's someone named Richard, and I love it even better when they die horribly, because then people are going, Richard! And I'm like, they really do care.
Uh-huh. I take a lot of pride in the fact that the director of this film shares my name.
Oh my God, do you know this guy?
Oh, Jeff Whitney.
Are you him? Did you change your name after this release?
I'll never tell.
The crew, and by the crew, I mean what's left of Beverly and her buds. They escape into the woods, and they run through the woods, and they find some train tracks. And that's when this movie gets on the rails. For
a short while.
Instead of getting off the rails, where it will get off of them repeatedly.
Several times.
They all managed to get on board except for two losers. Oh my God, I have their names here. Larry and Melanie.
I'm actually amazed that you were able to figure out which one is which.
It was not easy, because I thought his name was Mickey. I was like, Mickey and Melanie? That's weird. But then later I was like, oh, it's Larry.
Close, real close.
Melanie is totally out of shape. She's not even trying to get on this stupid train. And she doesn't make it, so of course, Larry, being such a great guy, he jumps off to help her, breaks his stupid leg. So he's, at the same time, helpful and totally useless.
Uh-huh.
And we'll come back to them later. They have their own adventure. So, jeez. They're on a train.
At this point in the film, it gets kind of, I mean, not confusing, but for a moment it's kind of dull. They're talking to they're trying to convince people that villagers tried to kill them, like the train conductor and stuff. But he's not, I mean, I guess he's receptive to what they're saying, but he's not really offering to do anything about it. He's just like, okay, you can ride the train, that's fine.
We'll work this out at the next town, eh?
Essentially, yeah.
I did want to mention one of the characters. One of Beverly's classmates is named Angel.
Yes, Angel.
And this guy decided to stand out in the movie.
He was the only one I noted. He's the only one whose name I remember.
Because he's screaming his fucking head off in every scene. He always says his lines a little too loud and a little too convincing, maybe?
I guess it's worth noting at this point that, every actor in this film, with the exception of Bo Svensson, was not a professional actor. No. They were just sort of plucked off the streets, what I learned. So
yes,
it shows. It does show.
Yes, Angel, he's the hilarious over-actor, so I kind of wish they'd all followed his lead. This movie would have been really crazy. Why is everyone shouting? There's a mysterious character on this train.
Mysterious is one way of putting it.
His name is Marius, and he's dressed like a monk, and he's playing the flute. And he's always sitting on the floor of the train.
I need to stop you for a moment because I didn't look at the cat or the IMDb, so I didn't see that his name was Marius. I thought they kept saying Bosco.
Oh wow,
Bosco, the mute flute player. I thought that's what his name was.
I have no idea how I didn't get Bosco. That's awesome.
I heard it every time. I made sure that that's what they were saying.
Oh, well, we're gonna call him Bosco later. Things are going okay for about a minute before night falls and...
Wait, you know what? Things are not okay.
No?
No. Why is there a mute flute player who just sits on the train and plays his flute? Very, very well, by the way. But why do they just accept that that's okay?
Well, this is another country. They got different customs than we do.
I don't accept that as an answer.
It'd be weird if he wasn't there.
So they're on the train and it's moving. What happens next?
Well, first of all, someone's stealing the mail.
Oh, yes.
Oh, scary. That's literally what my note says. Someone's stealing the mail? There's a fire on the train tracks, so the train comes to a stop. The engineer and the firemen who have been driving this train, the titular Amok Train, they get off to figure out what's going on. And there's this weird figure in the distance.
Yeah, coming out of the flames.
Yep, some dark figure with a scarf.
Well, the scarf is not attached to him. The scarf is in fact sentient. It's taken on a life of its own.
The scarf is indeed alive. The fireman, he gets shoved into the oven, into the wood-burning stove, so he is now finally living...
Or the engine.
Yes, the engine. Thank you. Wood-burning stove.
Remember, they don't have central heating in Yugoslavia.
Oh, that's right. This is the best they could do. So he gets to die as he lived, and then the main guy, the engineer, he gets scarf raped or something.
Yes.
I'm not going to call it that, I promise. The scarf comes out of nowhere, wraps around his leg, and drags him underneath the moving train.
Right.
Thus decapitating him, and it's awesome.
It's a very slow decapitation. Usually these things are fairly quick in Italian horror films, but
they were super proud of this effect.
Yeah,
so
it looks good. All the effects in this movie, in fact, look really good for the most part. I was actually really embarrassed afterwards listening to some interviews with those involved in the film to learn that they used a lot of train models for this film. I guess I just sort of thought they were real trains. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of shots. There's a lot of real train footage in this. There's also a lot of model stuff.
But it looks pretty good. For 1989 Italy, it looks pretty good.
Exactly. They didn't have computers to depend on like that awesome train at the station in Argento's Dracula. Yeah. Holy shit balls. How the fuck did that one pass?
Let us never speak of that again.
Oh man. Oh no, we're gonna talk about it.
No.
In detail right now.
Nope.
No. Now we're gonna stick with this insane movie. There's a cool moment in the on the train where Beverly looks up at the window, and just for a moment, Vesna the witch appears and looks in the window. Well, she's blind, but she looks in the window and then disappears again.
And Beverly gives us some really big bug eyes to...
She's like... but she doesn't say anything to anybody.
Oh, we also skipped the fact that the conductor is also killed. He's squished between two train cars, and he sort of explodes like a fruit gusher.
That's... Yeah, there's a lot of raspberry jam flying out of that guy.
Yeah, so basically everybody who controls this train and its forward momentum are dead, and yet the train still moves forward.
Beverly gets separated from everybody. A radio comes to life. I believe it's a radio. It's a little red light comes on.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that was supposed to be a radio.
It's Hale.
A voice tells her that she must go to the coronation so that she can become the Princess of Darkness.
Yes. What a title.
I love it. I would attend that coronation myself.
Yeah, but think of her kingdom. You know, as the Princess of Darkness, she rules over Serbo-Croatian. They don't have any central heating, so it's not the nicest.
Beautiful. She has a vision, a very, very bizarre and unsettling vision. I believe it's her mother is giving birth to a goat.
I wasn't totally clear. It kind of looked like a burnt dog corpse to me.
Ooh.
But it's also worth noting that her mother is bald and albino.
Yes, she looks like she's been living in that village for a while.
She, in fact, looks so different that when she appears to Beverly, she says to her, "Beverly, I'm your mum."
Remember? Elbow. Hey, come on, it's me.
I don't know exactly what the implication of this vision is. Is the implication that Beverly herself is, in fact, at least maybe her soul is that of a burnt dog corpse? I don't know.
The possibilities are endless. Meanwhile, our favorite couple, Larry and Melanie, are down and out, just traipsing through the woods. She made a splint for his broken leg, and they're pathetic and not interesting.
No, they're not interesting at all. In fact, I don't make a note about them until they die.
But they go out spectacularly.
They certainly do.
So the shit hits the fan, bureaucratically speaking, when the train doesn't stop at the station it's supposed to and leaves a bunch of poor schlubs fucking stranded. I mean, what were they thinking with some of these scenes of the train people, like these very communistic, just Communist Party people trying to track down this train? I mean, these scenes could not be any more lame or disinteresting, but yet they put all this work into them. It's really funny.
This is the point at which the movie starts to melt my brain a little bit. It's and listening to, the copy of the film that I have also has an interview with the producer, Ovidio Asinitis, that sheds some light on the film, particularly that this was sort of like this angle, the sort of like action movie thriller angle of like this runaway train was their main impetus, like of why they wanted to make this movie.
It shows. No, it doesn't.
He actually says that the John Voight movie Runaway Train was their main inspiration. And making this, which is just absurd.
No.
In this interview, he actually says, I just sort of let the kid actors decide what direction they wanted the film to take once we sort of established the basics of what were going to happen. And they wanted the gore. They wanted the horror. So this film feels extremely disjointed from this point forward, where it keeps moving between this, straight up action thriller where, all these people in like a situation room are trying to find this missing train because, poor people have to get where they're going.
That's right.
And we get lots of like nice helicopter shots of like kids standing on our kids standing on top of the train. Yep. And where's this missing train? It's totally in contrast to the fact that there are people's heads exploding. And it never quite makes sense together.
No.
But I love that they try for it.
Is this where... I think I was confused about this. Do they actually show them separating from the car that has all the people on it? Or do all the people just vanish in some mysterious way?
I have no idea.
Because there were other passengers.
Right.
They're all gone.
Well, there are cars that like separate and reconnect throughout the film, so I really couldn't tell you who's on what car at any given moment.
Someone is in the caboose.
I think it might be us.
Yes, we are definitely we're under the train at this point. They meet up with my favorite stowaway ever.
She's my favorite too.
Her name is Sava, played by Savina Gersavi, or Gersavic or something.
She is an English-speaking, gum-chewing, switchblade chick. That's how I'd describe her.
Oh yeah, it's... My handwriting is great. Savina Gersak, or Gershak, or something. Or, it's Jennifer Lopez. No, it's not Jennifer Lopez. This is, like you said, the switchbladiest chick ever. Like, she's got that weird, like, bombardier kind of hat on.
Uh-huh.
I love those hats. I don't think I could wear one though.
We learn that she's a fighter, not a killer. Not a killer. She just fights. And you can tell. I mean, she looks like a rough and tumble gal.
Totally. So now they're totally screwed. They're on this train. There's no way to stop it, or seemingly no way to stop it. That's when Christy enters the movie. This girl has been in the movie the whole time. She's the dark-haired one.
She's the brunette, okay.
Yeah.
The one who made some slanderous comments about Beverly's lady parts.
Her name is Sarah Conway Simonera, and she is famous for her appearance in Amok Train. She just turns the bitch on, and she accuses Beverly of having sex with the train's conductor and going insane and murdering him. That's where she thinks the conductor went.
Which is actually a pretty clear indication that, in fact, Christy has gone insane.
Yes. Christy is... If only she'd been a bigger bitch, or a bitch more often, it would have been great, because just that whole scene of her very rudely... Or rudely. So, this means that she's going to storm out. because her bitch can't handle being in the room with other people, so she goes off.
She gives such a wonderful monologue. Yeah, I mean, I really agree. I mean, she concocts such a wonderful sex fantasy for Beverly.
That's so hot.
And Beverly, in response to all this, she says, this is just a sampling of how good this dialogue is throughout. Beverly says, "You always thought I was just a stupid, ugly little kid."
How long have they been going to class together?
Since grade school, God. I suppose.
So, Kevin, the pretty boy of the class, I also haven't mentioned him much because who gives a shit about this character?
I mean, all the dudes besides Angel kind of blend together.
They just, they're... I normally can pick out these kinds of characters, and I get really into, like, the stupid character that nobody gives a shit about.
No, absolutely.
I've had so much trouble doing that with this movie. I'm just hanging on to Beverly and Sava for dear life.
And Bosco.
Or that Bosco character. That fluty guy. Woo!
Oh, another thing, a little detail that we see in this scene after Christy gives her sex fantasy monologue and Beverly reacts in horror that she could be accused of such a thing. We see that there is a maggot crawling out of the back, like from under the skin of Beverly's hand. Which is a nice little touch. I mean, we don't really know exactly what that means. Does it mean that Beverly is possessed in some way at this point? Did the red light convince her? The pulsating red light? Yeah.
That's just the actress. She just does that.
It's one of her natural talents.
Ooh. But that's a sign that some shit's about to go down.
Yes.
And the shit that goes down is Kevin follows Christy for a sweet makeout session, and one of the most confusing gore scenes I've ever seen. Like, it's cool, but for the first 20 seconds, you're like, whose head is exploding?
Yes.
Who's bleeding from their forehead? What's going on? You think Kevin's about to die? Who knows? But what happens is Christy's face comes off.
It falls off.
Her face just comes off, and my wife asked me, like, how gory is this movie? And I didn't remember. I was like, hey, it's not that gory. Whatever.
That is definitely the goriest moment, and it's actually, I mean, I think it's a little masterpiece of gore.
Good. It's good. It's messed up. So
I mean, there's other good stuff in this film, but this is, like, beyond that.
Yeah.
I want to focus on this scene a little bit more specifically because there are some wonderful things that happen in it. So, Kevin, this heartthrob, I guess, if you want to say that's what he is, he walks into the train car where Christy is, like, lying down, like, crying. And Christy asks him, "Do you love me?" And Kevin says, "Yes." And so Christy asks, "Well, what do you like about me?" And Kevin responds by saying, "I don't know, your hair, your mouth." Those are the two best things he can come up with about why Christy's...
her ears, too, or something like that?
He goes on, but your hair and your mouth. I like that he placed those first.
Yep.
Well, and then like another specific detail about how this whole face melting thing goes off is that, it's actually, I just love it so much. They're making out, and it looks like, it's all good at first, but then she, like, spits blood / worms into Kevin's mouth. And he's spitting out this blood and these worms, and then we get these wonderful trickles of blood coming down her face. And then, she starts just peeling it off bit by bit. Oh, it's so good.
Very, very. It kind of makes up for the people who are tracking the train to figure out where they are.
Hold on, I can't move on yet because there's something else that happens.
What?
At the end of that scene, Christy has just ripped her face off, and Kevin, as would be expected, runs out of the train car that they're in. And then very quickly, before it cuts to the next scene, Beverly sticks her head in and just, like, looks into the room at Christie's, corpse. And then cut, and it's never mentioned again.
I totally forgot about that.
That's it.
Oh, my God.
Christie's dead, I guess. Whatever.
Holy shit. That's awesome. Finally, the train goes off the rails.
Yes.
That's my little reference to our friend Brad right there, because he often says, well, we're off the rails tonight when we're recording.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we call that pulling a Brad.
Ooh. Well, this train pulls a pretty major Brad.
Yeah, it's insane. It goes insane.
It flies through the forest for quite a while, and then eventually jumps onto a new track.
It jumps back.
Which I don't think is possible.
It turns into a toy train, and there's a lot of slow motion stuff.
Wait, that was a toy train? What do you mean?
Oh, I know. I hate to shatter the reality for you. Fucking IMDb. Jeez. Stop destroying movies. So, the train has a purpose for jumping the tracks. It has to fucking kill Larry and Melanie real quick. Pardon me, guys. Choo choo. Melanie and Larry are just farting along. They're now on a little boat in the water. So you think they're safe from a train, but they're not.
Uh-huh.
The train totally has jumped the tracks and is now floating on a river just to run them over.
I'm actually really confused about the chronology of what's happening here.
Okay.
I think that the train derails, then it goes through the forest, then it jumps back onto a new track.
Okay.
But then everything goes slow motion, and some classical music starts happening.
Yes.
And then
the slow motion. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the train starts barreling through some like the water that these two characters are on. So it once again goes off the track, because I'm assuming a track doesn't run through like a lake.
Yeah, I forgot about when I said slow motion sequence. That was when everyone on the train, our good friends from our Los Angeles community college, I'm assuming, are just screaming, and it's all slow motion. And they play some.
Yes.
I don't know what classical music it was. Was it? It was familiar, right?
Sure, generic classical music.
Yeah, it was something with a lot of dramatic stuff. I'm sure I could look it up, but I'm not doing it for Amok Train.
My favorite part of when they were flying around the train in slow motion was recognizing that Bosco is still there.
Yeah.
And just flying around in his big cloak with his little flute.
Oh, Bosco. So, Melanie gets beheaded by this train. We know Larry's dead, but we don't really see what happens to him. Melanie's severed head goes flying gloriously through the air, kind of like Ferris Bueller at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he's,
when
coasting
he's decapitated
in slow motion. No, her head represents him. Maybe.
Okay.
It could have been a reference.
I don't think so.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Now my notes are starting to break down here.
Yeah, my next note is very confusing. My next note, is decapitated head blood dripping onto Beverly's boobs.
Yes, Beverly...
I know that happens, but I don't know whose head it is or why it's happening.
They don't show her breasts again.
No.
Because we got an eyeful at the beginning. But she is laying down in the train on one of the seats or on the bed or something, and the blood presumably from Melanie's severed head is dripping on her and soaking her outfit.
Yeah.
Then we see Beverly just carrying it around. The next thing you know, they're trying to blow up the train.
Well, first Beverly comes to the surviving classmates and admits to the fact that she has somehow killed everybody else.
Yes.
Which we know she really hasn't, but I guess maybe she's satanically complicit. But then she slits her wrists. She does that because she doesn't. Yeah, she slits her wrists.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. She says that. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then she holds up her wrists, and they're all bloodied. And then everybody else rushes to her aid. But
shit.
I think that's actually all we see of that. I don't think it's addressed in further scenes.
I think I was dozing. Wow, I totally don't remember that at all. So
it seems like an easy moment to miss.
Folks at home, are you getting an idea of how overwhelmingly ridiculous this movie is? Like, it is like 4 Italian horror movies in one. Oh, and a fucking train movie to top it all off. They have to. So during all this, Sava, our Switchblade sister, has been taking apart a box of shotgun shells. The box was marked explosives, so it's really confusing when she pulls out shotgun shells. I mean, granted, shotgun shells are explosive, but she spends most of her time in the movie, taking apart the shotgun shells to make a bomb.
I would go a little bit more specific than that and say that she actually spends the entirety of her time in the movie. From the first scene that we meet her, she's already starting to make this explosive. And then we end with her when she explodes, I guess.
Yes. So they're trying to get the train to derail or blow up the engine or whatever the fuck they're trying to do. So they're moving from car to car, and that's when the beautiful Kevin, who seems like he's doing pretty good considering that Christie's face came off while they're making out.
Well, you know what? He didn't like her too much,
right?
And even without a face, her hair was still pretty good.
Wow. He is climbing between the cars, falls, and gets cut in half when a chain snaps. Which is funny because when you watch the scene again, you look, the chain isn't even taut. Like, why would it snap? Why would it fly? But his death is totally disgusting. The guts. This guy had the guts of 4 or 5 people in his body because he's just guts and arms, and a head. He finally falls and gets run over by the train, and it's really disgusting.
And you know what the problem was? Is that he was also secretly a mannequin. That's it. He was just...
Oh, is that how those kind of people are? They're part mannequin?
Yeah, and mannequins have very slow, reaction speed. So, you know, he couldn't really get out of that situation. He was going to end up a pile of plastic guts no matter what.
Oh my god, this is great. The next thing... The Communist Party tries to park trucks on the tracks to stop the train, and that fails. Instantly fails.
My note says nothing stops this train.
No, it's too amok. Then Angel loses his mind for some reason. They're still climbing around on the train for no fucking reason, but Angel just starts screaming with laughter. And he's had it. It's over, man. Game over, man.
Game over.
He gets impaled on the
raised crossing gate, yeah.
Yeah, those crossing gates, they're supposed to be for safety. You're not supposed to fly at them at, whatever, Amok Train miles an hour. So he gets impaled, and it's awesome. So, this is, again, my notes are just gibberish at this point. Sava plants her bomb and sets it to go off, but just before she can get away, there's a train coming at them.
Right.
So,
her natural response is to just stay there and allow herself to be blown up, I guess.
I was yelling at the screen for her to jump off the train. Thank you, movie. Thank you for that, for making me stoop to that level. So she gets blowed up, or we assume. We definitely don't see her the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Finally, the train has stopped. Okay? And my will to live as well stopped. But they're back in the village.
Yes.
Fuck off, okay?
Everything ends where it begins.
And this is just angering me now. It didn't even occur to me after my second viewing how much this pisses me off. They're back in the same place.
Yes.
They didn't have a movie that could keep them near this stupid village, but now they're back. Oh, whatever. I asked for it. Come on. Amok Train? What the fuck? What was I thinking? So, they see the villagers outside. Beverly is panicking, and that's when Marius, a.k.a. Bosco, does what he was put on this earth to do. And that is to deflower Beverly.
Oh, I thought it was to play his flute.
Oh, he let her play his flute.
Did you see Bosco's sexy pierced ear? Because he does have a pierced ear.
I totally missed that. I know.
And when he takes his clothes off, Beverly's hair is blown back. That's how sexy it is.
It blows her clothes off, too.
It does. Her clothes disintegrate.
Oh, Bosco. Oh, did he have a unibrow, too, or was that just me?
Well, Italy, 1989. Yeah, he did.
Oh, boy. So, they have sex. It's time for the ritual. The professor, Bo Svensson, finally shows up in the movie again. He's leading Beverly in this. Suddenly she's dressed like, I don't know, like one of Robert Palmer's dancers from the music videos in the 80s, or I don't know what the hell she's supposed to be, but she's very sleek, kind of a mourning dress, but way too sexy for a funeral. Split right down the middle kind of a dress. And he takes her by the hand and leads her to this ritual. She tries to make a deal with the professor for what she'll get when she becomes the Princess of Darkness. And he makes some wacky promises to her that don't make any sense. Did you catch any of that crap?
Not at all. You'd think she'd be satisfied with her satanic kingdom of Yugoslavia/Serbia, Croatia, but no, she's not. She wants more. That's all I know.
It's like haggling with Bob Barker. Come on.
But it's also confusing because she seems to know what she's done by having sex with Bosco. How she sort of ruined this passion play. So I don't know why she's even making deals.
I guess it's to help us forget what's going on.
Okay.
So we're surprised.
Well, we are definitely surprised.
This ceremony is fucking crazy. We've got an altar. We've got all the villagers. They're clapping their rocks together. We've got, I believe, the devil encased in ice.
Well, I mean, if so,
not.
It's pretty shitty ice because he's moving around pretty freely in it. I think it's like a glass box that also looks like ice. I don't know.
Maybe it was the second stage of the Halloween concert. I don't know.
Okay.
Sure. It's... Here's what I wrote in my notes.
Okay.
Monster in ice.
Yep.
Bev ain't no virgin.
She's not.
Hilarity ensues.
Well, see, Vesna does her magical hymen detecting trick with her hand.
The results are not good.
There's no hymen. Oh, no.
You are not the father.
And so what happens is that Satan, encased in his glass/ice box, starts to melt. And then he explodes. And then all the villagers just scatter.
It's awesome.
And then invisible forces eat chunks out of Bo Svensson's face until he's dead.
It's really cool. But it's so late in the game, and it's so 10 minutes too long that you're like, what? You could just take this movie and edit it into 3 other movies and watch whichever one you wanted.
You could.
But I appreciate that, and we'll talk about why. But so Beverly escapes, and she's at the airport trying to leave. And there's an awesome comment from the guy who's checking her passport.
Yes, there is.
He's like, "Oh, this picture's no good, but it was only taken a few months ago. Wow, you've changed." And it's like, oh my god, he knows you lost your virginity. Somehow he knows.
Girl, you've become a woman.
Oh, God. So she's about to get on the plane. There's a call for her, or somebody stops her or whatever. And she gets the book back that has been a pointless book. I mean,
this part is I cried almost when this part in the movie happened. Because she receives the book, and the book was given to her by Bosco.
Oh my God!
Who didn't come into the airport? I guess airport security was really good at this time in 1989 in Serbia, Croatia. So he wasn't allowed in, but he gave the book to this other person to come give to her, and she reads it and learns that he was, this this monk from the 11th century who was a sworn demon fighter. And we just get this wonderful last shot of Bosco very slowly waving to her goodbye.
It's beautiful.
And it kills me. It's
the most obtuse Hallmark commercial ever. The book, it's so funny. I might have even had a note about this earlier, but this book, her mother gave her the book, but she never opened it or anything, and it was just like one of those things that we're supposed to remember, but of course we didn't.
I did not remember that. Nope.
Yeah. So, she gets the book. She finds out he's a saint. She gets on the plane, and of course we're tempted by a proposed sequel.
Amok Plane!
Amok Plane. A demon hand bursts through the window and grabs her. Of course, it's just a dream. Much like the viewing of this movie. It's also a nightmare.
I so wish that Amok Plane was a reality.
Oh, it'll be beyond the door forever.
Oh, man.
Forever?
Forever.
Right? Oh, shit. So, before we lose our minds or get them back or whatever, Jeffrey, how do you like this movie?
Well, see, I'd never seen this movie before. I chose it exclusively because I hadn't seen it and because I'd heard it was insane. I guess it lived up to that. It wasn't quite as insane as I thought it would be. I guess, it's a pretty good-looking film for so late in the Italian film industry. 1989, things were pretty much dead.
No doubt.
And this is an impressive-looking film. Again, I was really impressed by the special effects throughout. Both the gore and the action set pieces were nice-looking. The talent on screen is debatable. But there was money behind this film. I think that seems clear. I like it. It was not what I was expecting. Again, that mixture of of action and horror does not sit well at a certain point. It's really bizarre. But I don't care. I like it nonetheless. I like a film that confuses me and exasperates me, and this one does entirely.
I like this too. It reminds me of late period Fulci.
Okay.
Like if Fulci had a huge budget for the film that jumps to mind is Demonia. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've seen Demonia, but
no,
it's a good idea. No chance in hell of being executed even remotely competently because it's so bare bones and it's embarrassing. But there's plot elements that are kind of similar, so it reminds me of that. The vibe I get from this is like Michele Soavi's The Church.
Okay.
A little bit.
Sure.
Although I think The Church is a much better movie. Even though it has baffling, crazy, redonkulous shit in it too.
It does.
That one I'd rather watch all the time. This one I will watch again, but just not right now. Give
sometime
me
in the future, yeah. Okay.
I'd say this is just a few minutes too long. And not because it's boring, but because it's just so much. Like
It's really not even that long. I mean, it's an hour 35. I mean, it's fairly short.
It really I think I felt that 5. You know. I think I skipped talking about any of the cast on purpose.
Oh, let's talk about them.
Obviously, Bo Svensson is awesome. He's a prolific actor from TV and war movies, and he's done some Italian stuff. Small parts like
Inglourious Bastards, you know, Enzo Castellari's Inglourious Bastards. He's fantastic in that. What a good film! That. Oh, you gotta watch it.
I will
watch it. Watch it now.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
no, watch it.
Pause.
I will watch it later though, based on your recommendation. I'm real bad with the Italian war movies. I don't know why.
I mean, this one's a very Dirty Dozen type flick, you know.
Hey. And I'm a fan of that, so of course, why wouldn't I want to see the Italian ripoff?
Yes.
The rest of the cast, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm just really disappointed that Angel, played by Alex Vitale, didn't have a huge career after this.
Oh.
The production
side... God, he's in Robot Jox?
Yeah, as 2B number 2. What kind of a credit is... I'm 2B number 2.
Wow.
Yeah, Robot Jox. There's a classic from my youth, and by classic I mean I'd rather go to the dentist than sit through that fucking movie.
Wow, he's also in Strike Commando. He had a few credits, a couple.
No, he didn't. Stop it. Most interestingly, the producer Ovidio G. Asanitis. That's my pronunciation.
I think it's Asanitis.
He definitely has caught Asanitis. Aside from making one of the worst interviewees, I think I'm so glad you watched that interview more than I did. I tried to watch it.
I watched it, the whole thing.
He produced and directed the original Beyond the Door, an Exorcist ripoff.
The best part of the interview is when he admits without much shame that, you know, it was just a marketing move to name this Beyond the Door 3. It has obviously it has no relation at all to...
No. I believe I know he produced, but I think he also directed a slasher movie called Madhouse.
Madhouse?
Yeah, it's called Madhouse. It's listed on IMDb as... When She Was Bad or something like that. It's 1981, and this might spoil it a little bit, but I really think, this is my theory, that before Happy Birthday to Me came out, there was some like on-set photographs, and they decided to write a screenplay around those photographs, because Madhouse is way too similar to Happy Birthday to Me to be just a coincidence. It's like
interesting
how Who Saw Her Die and Don't Look Now are so similar and so different.
Yes.
But they're almost the same year. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
So I recommend Madhouse, though. It is fucking weird.
I have to check that out.
Much like this film, it's bizarre. What else did Ovidio do? He also produced Tentacles.
Oh, Tentacles.
The Italian Jaws ripoff with a...
Shelley Winters.
Oh, man. I've seen that movie at night when I was very tired. I think a baby gets snatched from the beach by the...
Yes, it does. By a fucking squid. Oh, my God. Tentacles is it's one of the worst Jaws ripoffs of the, you know, there are lots of Jaws ripoffs with, you know, both aquatic animals and like land animals, you know, Grizzly's a Jaws ripoff, but that's way better than Tentacles. The best thing Tentacles has going for it is its score by Stelvio Cipriani, which is
good.
Incredible.
I've seen like 10 minutes of the movie, and yet I've listened to the entire score. So there you go.
It's a very boring movie.
Speaking of music, we got Carlo Maria Cordio. This guy did some awesome shit.
Really?
He did the music for Absurd, a.k.a. Rosso Sangue. Mm-hmm. He also did the music for
Troll 2.
Oh, yeah. Troll 2, Pieces, and he did the music for Enigma by Lucio Fulci there.
Unfortunately, I cannot note any of these films for having, spectacular music. I really don't remember any of the music from this film.
The music that stands out the most for me is of The Absurd. Like, I really dig that soundtrack. It's awesome. It's that perfect.
I don't remember it.
82.
Again, Anthropophagus, that score is fantastic. Absurd.
Oh,
I don't remember. I don't remember Absurd's soundtrack. I think maybe I don't like this composer. Sorry.
No judgment here. I didn't say he was good. I just said I like him. No. Cinematography by Adolfo Bartoli. This guy has a weird-ass IMDb page.
Yeah, I looked at his stuff.
He's filmed stuff for, like, Full Moon Pictures.
Mostly, yeah.
And one of the things he did that I love is he filmed a movie with Brink Stevens called Lurking Fear.
Yeah.
Which I love. Lurking Fear is the shit.
That's a Lovecraft adaptation.
Yes, very loosely. Very loosely.
Yes.
But yeah, I like... And that guy's all over that cinematographer is just crazy. He
has a very diverse career. He, as before he became like a director of photography, he did some, Beyond the Door 3 was pretty early in his cinematography portfolio, you might say. But he had been doing a lot of other camera work before that. He worked on Lambada in 1990.
Holy shit.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was a camera operator. What else? There's some other cool ones I noticed here. Popeye. He was the underwater assistant camera. Uncredited.
Oh, man, that fucking movie.
He worked on Contamination.
Ooh, that's very special.
Yes. So he did some cool stuff, for sure.
He also did the cinematography on that Pit and the Pendulum movie with Lance Henriksen.
Stuart Gordon's, yeah.
Bizarre. That's one of Stuart Gordon's weirdest ones, I think.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you should watch it. It's crazy.
I will watch it.
Stuart Gordon, his stuff feels so European. It's so... he just lives over there now, probably. Yeah, great cinematography. That's one of the things about Amok Train is it's filmed really well. There's great lighting, great atmosphere, great camera work. I don't think they knew what they were filming, but at least they filmed it.
I mean, yeah, I think this, above and beyond, this film looks really good for 1989, an Italian production. It, mostly they look like dog shit at this point, and the fact that this one looks so professional is a credit to it, for sure.
Okay. Real quick, the writer... was that Sheila Goldberg.
This explains so much.
Yes.
Because Sheila Goldberg is mostly... She wrote a couple films. She wrote this in a movie called Choke Canyon.
And Body Count.
She wrote Body Count, yeah. But when you look at her, IMDb credits a little bit more closely, you begin to understand. Because she was a dialogue coach. She was clearly an English woman who was taking these Italian scripts and making them, making the dialogue somewhat more English. Infusing a little bit of the teenager speak into these films. And look at the fucking films she worked on. Ghost House, Killing Birds, Stage Fright. These are films that have some of the most atrocious dialogue.
It all makes sense.
She's makes
barely
a lot
literate,
of sense.
and she wrote a fucking movie.
I love her. She is a wonderful woman who produced some wonderful work.
Okay, so we're getting to Jeffrey's favorite part here. The director of this movie,
yes.
Quinty.
Jeff Quitney.
Quitney, excuse me.
All right.
I actually wrote down Quintry. I knew that was wrong. So Quintney. Oh my God. What else has this gentleman done? What has he given the world?
He wrote one episode of Animaniacs.
Wow.
He has a very sparse. He directed 4 films. I've only seen one of them. I watched it recently in preparation of talking about this film, and it was quite the experience. It was 1988's Iced. Are you familiar with Iced?
I know Iced exists, and I've read a review of it, but I've purposefully forgotten it because I've never seen the movie. So when I go into it, I will be fresh.
Iced is the film that is the slasher film that the blokes at the Hysteria Continues talk about often. They reference the fact that at the very end of the film, the killer bursts out of a snowman that he somehow encased himself in. And that indeed does happen at the end of this film. But Iced is kind of amazing. It's more amazing to think that this director, the year after directing this pretty shitty American slasher film, was then tapped to direct a much larger budgeted Italian/Yugoslavian film. It's amazing. Iced is, oh my god. You should watch Iced.
I will. I'm very excited to watch it now.
There's the only thing I'll say about Iced is that, so it's a pretty cool slasher film in that it's a slasher film where the main characters are adults. That's sort of rare in the slasher cycle, that it's populated entirely by people who are not in high school. But there's this wonderful scene near the end where the final girl, she walks around her house and discovers all of the dead bodies of all of her friends. And then she finds a shotgun or something and sits on a staircase waiting for the killer to come in and attack her. And for some reason she falls asleep.
Oh, jeez.
That's the sort of film we're dealing with Iced. It's a treasure, but very selective treasure. You need to be pretty devoted to the subgenre to really get into it.
I would say the same thing about Amok Train.
I would as well. Yes.
This is like hovering between second tier and third tier. Very and if you watch Italian horror movies, I think you know what I'm talking about, where you have this list of favorites that you would fucking argue to the grave and defend, and then you have the movies that you like, but you understand when your friends either lose interest when you're watching them, make fun of them, or look at you weird, like, what are we doing? Then there's that third tier of you are so desperate for Italian horror that you are watching, I don't know, exactly. So
Love and Death on the Edge of a Razor.
Fuck you.
The worst.
Don't ever mention that again.
The worst Italian film I've ever seen.
Holy shit. Why would you do that? Don't bring that up. No, I actually found a giallo worse than Sex of the Witch.
Ooh, I haven't seen that one.
And it's Love and Death on the Edge of a Razor.
It's not a giallo. It's not a giallo. I'm not even sure what it is, but it's not a giallo.
Something. If you've seen that, then Sex of the Witch is going to be so awesome to you.
Cool. I'm very much looking forward to it.
I never thought I'd find a giallo worse than The Bloodsucker Leads the Dance, but holy shit, yeah.
That one's almost good in comparison.
Wow. So I think that concludes our Amok Train talk.
Almost. I've actually got a few bits of, because the copy of the film that I had an interview with Ovidio Assonitis, which we already covered everything from that. But there was also an interview with the director of photography,
yes.
Adolfo Bertoli, and there was a couple other interesting tidbits I gleaned from this interview. The first one was that it was cold in Yugoslavia.
Spoilers.
Secondly, he says this. I have nothing to back it up besides the fact that he says it. But he says that Lucio Fulci actually came to the set and filmed one shot in this movie. He says that one of the exploding head scenes was filmed by Fulci as some sort of second unit thing.
Aww, that's awesome.
It's easy to believe, but I don't know. I don't know if it's true.
It just sounds like he's trying to sell a few more copies of the DVD.
It does kind of sound like that.
But, you know, considering how bad off Fulci was, that was probably a day's pay, you know?
And in 1989? Yeah. Probably, I can see it. It makes sense.
Hey, guys. I think our little Bevy has finally slipped off her mark. I think I understand. You got this frightened little girl who wants to get laid, right? And you got this big, horny engineer all alone in a hot locomotive. So the big guy pops her cherry, and no more baby Beverly. She's a hot woman now. She's feeling guilty as sin. The first fuck of her life. So she kills the guy who fucked her.
This is another riff on Question Time with Brad. This is the question duel. We both have a question for each other. So, Jeffrey, you won the imaginary coin toss. What is your question?
I feel so lucky. Well, my question is a multi-part question, really. Because this is a train flick. This is a flick about trains and people being on trains and horrific things happening on trains.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought of some other train movies, and I just wanted to get briefly your opinions of these train movies.
All right.
We have many discussions of them. First up is Terror Train. How do you feel about Terror Train?
Terror Train is a slasher favorite. Like,
nice.
I had to upgrade to that Blu-ray.
Indeed.
I love that movie. It's the Jamie Lee Curtis movie I always forget about. And when I remember it, I'm so excited I have to put it on. It's like, you mentioning it will make me watch it in the next week. Like, it's a great movie.
Yeah, for me, it's top-tier slasher material.
Oh, yeah.
I think that a lot of that has to do with David Copperfield.
I knew you were going to say that.
I love his inclusion in the film. Oh, man.
He's part of the plot.
He is part of the plot.
It's not brilliant.
Yes, it is an exquisite film. Okay, so number 2 here is Night Train to Terror.
Is that the 76 one? It's like a collection of like.
Oh, you bet it is.
Okay, I have never seen that.
Well, you need to get on seeing that.
I will.
Night Train to Terror, more specifically, is 2 finished films and 1 unfinished film cut down into an anthology.
Oh, God.
Absolutely none of the segments make any sense at all. It is one of the most mind-altering experiences you can have watching a film. It goes so fast, hitting you with all these details. I mean, imagine like watching a movie like Amok Train, but condensed into about 20 minutes. You wouldn't be able to comprehend it, but this is what happens in Night Train to Terror 3 different times.
Wow.
One of the sequences in that is a finished film called Death Wish Club, aka Greta, which is actually one of my favorite movies. I would put it at like my top 10. It is completely inexplicable.
I want to watch. Well, then I want to watch that first, and then Night Train to Terror.
You know what? I would love to talk about Death Wish Club with you. I think you would.
I'll watch it.
Love it. It's. I won't even tell. I won't tell you anything about it because it's every moment is a surprise.
Oh,
okay, but Night Train to Terror, on its own as an individual film made up of a lot of little films, is worth seeking out. The third one I have here is Night Train Murders.
Oh, I knew this was coming. I bought that movie sight unseen when it came out on DVD. And it probably almost kept Lietta from marrying me. She, during that movie, right before the ending, she stormed out of the room, livid. And she's not easily offended, but that movie pushed all of her buttons, mainly the stabbing of the vagina buttons.
Sure.
And...
well, to be fair, that happens pretty early in the movie.
Well, the unrelenting humiliation and torture, coupled with the very obvious, these people are not going to get punished enough for all the horrors they've caused. I mean, granted, one dude gets stabbed in the dick, but seriously, it doesn't happen enough or long enough to pay off. And it doesn't pay off any of the vile things that it makes you sit through. Because I like a rape revenge movie. I don't like the rape part, but I always love the revenge, and that movie left me totally unsatisfied, especially with its ambiguous ending. And then it made Lietta so angry that, what is this, 2014 right now? I've been hearing about that movie for 10 fucking years. 10 years. Every time people ask her, so Richard's got a crazy movie collection. What's the worst one you've seen? She goes, Night Train Murders. She never pauses to think about it. She doesn't have to, because it's still the worst fucking movie she's ever seen.
Nice. I love Night Train Murders.
I'll never be able to watch it again the rest of my life. Maybe, she'll obviously outlive me, so maybe in hell I'll watch it.
Much like Beyond the Door, the original Beyond the Door, not this one, Beyond the Door 3, much like Beyond the Door was a ripoff of The Exorcist, Night Train Murders is pretty much a ripoff of Last House on the Left. The Italian version, which, necessarily the Italian version is a lot bleaker. That I appreciate. You get the catharsis in Last House on the Left. I mean, it's a very tempered catharsis where you have to go, well, look, these people had to become monsters to, fight off these monsters. But I like that the Italian version is basically just like, well, fuck, the monsters win. Whatever. They're smarter than you.
We didn't understand the point. Or no, more to the point, this is realistic,
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I also appreciate the sort of the class criticism going on there.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, where the rich are exploiting
the rich white woman is the most trustworthy person,
exploiting the virile poor.
Yes, exploiting these swarthy young men.
Yeah, so I love Night Train Murders.
Wow.
Okay, number 4. I have 2 more left. Horror Express.
Horror Express.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Duh.
Duh.
The Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, the Spanish one.
/ Telly Savalas, yeah.
Plus Telly Savalas. Holy fuck.
/ love that guy who looks like Paul Naschy but isn't.
I know, what a fake out. I love that movie. That is a great movie. For some reason I blanked on the title when you mentioned it. I just forget it's on a train because it's all about the stuff going on in the train that but a classic film. It's wonderful Spanish and Spanish British production.
I would say that Horror Express is my favorite English film directed by a Spanish fellow.
There you go.
Bar none. It is. My last one is a curveball, Tombs of the Blind Dead.
Oh, yeah, that's got traininess.
No, it's got hardcore traininess.
I really love that movie. I have one problem with it, and I think that's the rape scene.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I mean, I've talked this to death on this show, how much rape scenes in movies just drive me up the fucking wall, but that one is so needlessly in that movie that it hurts. Such a perfect gem of a film. And
This might be horrible to admit, but the rape scene in that movie is a running joke between me and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because the woman in that scene who is being, assaulted keeps saying, "Ino."
Oh, no.
It's her delivery in that scene is just it's too much.
You know what? The only thing worse than the rape scene in that movie is motherfucker reusing all of the scenes from that movie and all of the other Blind Dead movies.
See, I haven't seen any of the other Blind Dead movies yet.
Oh my God, Jeffrey!
I know.
I'm not gonna be a dick and say don't bother, but I hate when they reuse footage in movies.
Sure.
It happens all the time. You don't even notice it. It's a thing that people do. That like shot of a boat taking off from a port. It's probably been in 5 movies. Whatever. Who cares? Like, stock footage is stock footage. But there are so many shots from the first Blind Dead movie reused in all of the other Blind Dead movies.
Really?
You can't watch them in order, and you can't watch them at all because, for me, it takes me out of the movie instantly.
Is it like a Boogeyman 2, Hills Have Eyes 2 sort of thing?
No, not that bad.
Not that bad?
It's just they were done on the cheap, and they didn't want to redo all of the Here Come the Blind Dead scenes, so they just took little snippets from and used them in all 5?
4.
Yeah, all 4. They used them in all of them. All of them.
I can live with that.
It's irritating to me.
Okay, sure.
All right.
That's it for my question. Now on to yours.
Okay. Can you name 3, I'd say or more, but I won't bother. Say 3 post 1985 Italian horror films. So 3 Italian horror films released between the years 86 and 90. Let's say 90 that you actually like.
Yes. Well, okay. I mean, I'm going to have to look up a list here.
I do have a list I could forward you real quick.
I mean, the one off the top of my head I can think of is Stage Fright, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love Stage Fright.
It's a classic.
Honestly, it's the only one of Michele Soavi's films I really am down with.
Really?
I like the others, but something about them, like, I feel like Cemetery Man is the death of Italian horror. Like, that's just where it's gone to its farthest extent, just like the snow globe of the end of the film, and Italian horror is just dead from there on out.
I sent you a link.
Cool. I'm gonna
give you a few more.
I'm gonna click it.
Hints there. Throw that your way.
But Stage Fright is just excellent. It's so good. It's everything that it's such a nice bridge between everything that was happening in Italy with everything that's about to happen, or that actually has been happening at this point in America. It's that giallo slasher hybrid par excellence. I love it. Okay. Now I'm seeing a bunch of others on this list. Opera would be another. Nice. I love Argento's opera. It's perfect. It's. I guess it's his last really good film. What comes after that? Well, I mean, it's not. Yeah, but like, considering what comes next.
Yeah, my last great Argento is his Dracula. No, is
okay.
My favorite late Argento will, until I am totally astounded by something new, which I don't see happening before he exits this world, is the Stendhal Syndrome.
Yeah,
I stand by that fucking movie.
Okay.
Speaking of rape.
Well,
hey,
it's what the movie's about. Yeah, I mean, Stendhal's fine, but opera's where it's at.
Gotcha.
There are actually a surprising number of films on this list that I would get behind. The one I want to stick with for my third choice would be... I lost it. Where is it? Oh god, no, I can't say that. That would be so wrong. I almost said Delirium. Photos of Chio.
Holy shit!
But
I love that movie.
But I can't do that. I can't give Lambava any credit whatsoever. My third pick would actually be Ghost House. Lindsay coming through at the end of the decade, throwing out one of the most bizarre films.
You know what's terrible?
Uh-huh.
I had friends over. I put on Ghost House. It's the last movie of the night.
Uh-huh.
I wake up, and my friends are leaving. The credits are rolling. I've still never seen that movie. I was so tired.
Really?
I don't know what I was doing. I don't think I was drinking. I think I was just exhausted or something. I just totally started that movie and was out like a light.
Wow.
I've never seen it.
I don't know. I'd have to look more closely at his filmography. I guess he did a few other horror films after Ghost House, but Ghost House feels sort of like a punctuation mark. It throws everything possible into this ridiculous late 80s stew of horror. I mean, it's clearest. I mean, I think it was called La Casa 5 or La Casa 4.
Yeah.
I mean, it's working in the Evil Dead mode of, I'm gonna shock you with all this crazy shit. And it doesn't. But it definitely surprises you. This is the only film I've ever seen where the main character is a CB operator. Like, he does that in his spare time. That's just what he does.
He's a ham radio guy, huh?
More specifically, he talks about Duran Duran with people over his CB radio.
Man, I gotta watch that movie.
And again,
sleep through it.
I think, am I crazy, or did so our dialogue coach for Amok Train also worked on the dialogue for Ghost House. It explains so much.
Doctor, that's all coming together.
Sheila Goldberg. Oh, Sheila Goldberg.
Nice.
Okay, those are my answers, yes.
For me, I'm going to go with The Church.
Okay.
I'm all about The Church.
I'm on The Church. It's okay.
Part of it, I freely admit, is nostalgia. That was one of the few Italian horror films that I saw when I was a kid that I had no idea. I kind of knew it was foreign, and I kind of knew who Dario Argento was, thanks to that This Is Horror series on MTV. But by the time The Church arrived in my video store on VHS, I was just like, oh, what's this? And I freaking loved it, and it really holds up for me as it speaks to my my kid brain.
Okay.
Another one for me, big time, is The Spider Labyrinth.
Yes, of course.
I've only seen it once, but my viewing of it was just astonishment. Like, how the hell did this happen? It didn't like blow up. Like, that is such a crazy, great, enveloping movie. Like, you can't not get into that.
It's actually surprising to me that that's a 1988 feature. I mean, that seems like it should have come a decade earlier in the Italian horror cycle. I mean, it's got so many ideas and, just sort of artistic verve to it that nothing at this time period really had. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
The last one that I'm going to go with, Lucio Fulci's The Sweet House of Horrors.
Ooh, okay.
Weird, potentially the most unlikable film I've picked. I can't imagine, because one of the most famous things, obviously, about House by the Cemetery is Bob, the kid dubbed so
Certainly
badly by an adult woman. Well, Sweet House of Horrors, he has a twin sister.
Ooh.
And it's two tow-headed, fucking irritating little kids babbling through this entire movie. Even that is not enough to stop how great Sweet House of Horrors is.
Okay.
It is weird.
I am depressingly unversed in late period Fulci. I've seen like Touch of Death.
That's a rough one.
It's definitely rough. I actually kind of like it, but
it's funny and it's gory, but God, it never ends.
No, it's just. I mean, it's bleak. It's definitely bleak. But I haven't seen much of anything else besides that. It's after Murder Rock. Murder Rock would be my cutoff point.
Oh man, yeah, that's one of Brad's favorites.
I will never understand.
I like it, but I don't know how it could. We'll let Brad defend himself later, or just refer to our now very old Fulci Giallo episode from the first year of the show. The Sweet House of Horrors and House of Clocks I enjoy. They were made back to back for Italian television. And big surprise, they were too gory for Italian television. So they released them on video and maybe theatrically. I doubt it. If it had been advantageous and would have helped Fulci make money, it would have never happened. So. But I think that concludes our episode, dude.
That sounds good to me.
Wow, Amok Train, everybody.
We ran amok, and the train ran amok over us.
Yes, we are now totally.
I'm squished. I'm squished.
My head's gone. I bled on her boobs.
I look like a fruit gusher.
I've got this really weird rash on my chest. It's forming a big V.
I've got these maggots crawling out of my clicking hand.
Oh, can you hear that? That's my face peeling off.
Oh, it's much quieter than I would have thought.
So I don't know when this episode will be out, but I do know that the next time Jeffrey and I talk, we're going to talk about a slightly better made film by a mile.
Are you sure?
Yes and no. Now I'm
Question
detecting,
mark?
I'm detecting some hate.
No. There's no hate involved. I love Nightmare City.
We are, yep, that's it. We're going to talk about Nightmare City. I'm very excited to talk about Nightmare City with you.
Yes.
It's going to be the shit.
I watched it today, in preparation for this. I think I have, how many pages? Yep, 4 pages of notes.
I'm definitely going to watch it again tonight before.
Yes.
And I got to get as many Umberto Lenzi interviews in as I can.
You really don't need any.
Because he's a peach.
A real pleasant man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a wonderful evening. Hey, folks. Thanks for listening. If you want to contact the show, it's doomedmoviethon@gmail.com. Or if you want to hear our archived episodes, you can go to doomedmoviethon.com and click on the podcast link.
Hello, my name is Rod Barnett.
I'm Troy Gwynn.
And we are your genial co-hosts for NashyCast, the podcast about the films of Paul Naschy. If you don't know who Paul Naschy is, you need to learn.
Spanish horror icon, writer, director, actor, makeup artist.
He is all of these things and more. Paul Naschy, one of the greatest genre filmmakers of all time. Do titles like Horror Rises from the Tomb,
Vengeance of the Mummy, Werewolf Shadow,
House of Psychotic Women,
Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll,
Mark of the Werewolf make you want to see more?
Watch the film, then come hear our stunning, brilliant commentary.
Stunning and brilliant. That's us. Think that's too egotistical? Think that sounds silly? Think we come off as assholes?
Look, if nothing else, let us tell you this. Blood, nudity, beautiful women, werewolves and turtlenecks.
Nipples. Lots of nipples. Both male and female. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's going to want to listen to us after this, man. Find us at The Bloody Pit of Rod, or
you can subscribe to us on iTunes.
Give us a listen. And if we scare you too much, Well, maybe Spanish horror is not your thing. I don't know.